All right, I think we have a quorum, so let's go ahead and get started for today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ketch's Building a Modern Privacy Program series. This is the second webinar in a three-part series hosted by Ketch. If you joined us last week, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. Each week, we're diving into a different key part of the privacy program. And today that is privacy risk assessments. So let's go ahead and start with some introductions. I'm Colleen. I'm the marketing lead for Ketch globally, and I'm here with Stefan. Would you like to give a quick intro, Steph?
Yeah, good afternoon, folks. I'm a solution engineer here at Ketch, and I'll be walking you through the Ketch capabilities today, along with Colleen.
Great, thanks. So real quick overview, in case you're not familiar with Ketch background, we're a data privacy software platform helping businesses and brands to simplify privacy ops and use their responsibly gathered data for business growth. We're headquartered in San Francisco. We do have an office in London and customers across the US and Europe. Customers usually choose to work with Ketch because of the fresh approach we take to modernizing data privacy compliance. And that leads me to what we're here to talk with you all about today, which is best practices, recommendations, and really our take for modernizing one of the foundational components of your privacy program, which is privacy risk assessments. So what you see here is our flow for today. Going to give you a little background on sort of our worldview, trust by design, talk about the role of assessments in building trust within your business and with your customers. And then Steph's going to walk you through really reinvigorating your assessments approach and the technology part of it. If you have any questions throughout, please feel free to drop them in either the Q&A function or the chat. We would welcome any participation or specific questions or challenges you're dealing with. So that's the flow for today. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. If we start with, if you want to flip one slide back, Steph, I want to just set the table a bit. We're seeing a real interesting shift in the why for privacy innovation and sort of modernizing your data privacy approach, specific to assessments, but really above all and surrounding the entire privacy program. And that shift that we've seen in the market, and would love to hear if any of you are seeing the same, is that we're seeing the consumer emerge as a really distinct motivating factor. On the left, in this visual we've shown, we're seeing that businesses are struggling, hamstrung by the complexity and privacy, whether it's the complexity and volume of regulations, the fragmented stakeholders and different agendas for what success means in the org when it comes to privacy, the complexity of systems, how the web works from different digital identity to cookies to emails, how to manage all of that. And just sprawling data systems, right? The typical business today has 40 to 60 different systems and apps where all sorts of different data, personal and sensitive data resides. And it's a real challenge to get our arms around that. And while businesses are struggling with these different complexities, we're seeing that the consumer is really expecting a lot when it comes to wanting to reward a business with who's practicing responsible data with brand loyalty and revenue. So really, consumers have high expectations today. And so we're seeing that business solving the complexity in data privacy has become a business imperative, a real opportunity to build trust and value. And so that's why here at Ketch, we've really taken this idea of trust to heart and believe it's more than a sort of trite saying, but something that businesses really have to integrate into every process of the business. And that's why we call it trust by design here. And it's our way of saying that it's critical to both build trust with your customers and grow with data. And that's what we've really set out to do, enable customers to do both of those things at once. Build trust with consumers through transparent data practices, control and responsible data handling, and then at the same time, use that responsibly gathered data to grow the business and increase revenue. So that's our approach. We bake that into our platform across different components. And so when you look at the Ketch platform, what you see is that these 5 areas are really how we distill and break up building that trust by design into your entire privacy program. So all the way from data discovery and classification to consent management orchestration, as well as communications preference and management, DSARs, and then of course, risk assessments and intelligence. So we really work to help customers build trust by design into every aspect of the privacy program. And this is how that shapes out as far as the Ketch platform goes. So with that, a key piece of platform, but also risk assessments and intelligence is this idea of privacy as a team sport. In order to think about trust as this overarching, comprehensive piece that needs to be tangibly injected into every area of the privacy program, it involves more stakeholders than just legal. And so this is where we often speak with our customers about collaboration across legal, tech, marketing, and data, because each program owner and department owner really brings a different lens to collaborating within the privacy program. And so you see some examples here on the screen, but I'd love to kind of hand over and ask Steph to weigh in here, because today we're here to talk about assessments. And each of these leaders plays a unique role when it comes to executing privacy risk assessments in the organization. So Steph, can you help to share some light on that?
Yeah, sure, thanks. So in collaborating, these stakeholders all have various needs and priorities. The overarching priority of the team we found in our research was that ability to accelerate project delivery, but also, of course, manage compliance and risk at the same time. So there's two sides to this coin. And one of the things that we found that organizations were struggling with was just the speed and the pace and the collaborative nature of risk assessments in launching new projects, the intake of new project requirements into the legal process, and then that getting sort of bogged down with some very, very clunky and sort of really struggling with collaboration, and that was really slowing down project delivery. And that research was based on us talking to over 30 plus brands in our existing customer base and some new prospects as well. And one of the overarching things that came out of that was, well, we've got all these facts at our fingertips. We have collected all these answers to some of these questions before, but we're spending about 80% of our time searching for those facts when we're assessing a new project or a new processing activity. And they wanted to address that. So in designing our approach to assessments, we kind of bore that in mind as a key problem and challenge. The other one was scale. We have many customers from enterprise to mid-market to small startups. And at the top end, one existing client was like assessing 100 plus IT projects per month and really struggling with the intake, a lot of email-based collaboration around the DPIA process in particular, and really struggling with enabling the business to launch these new projects fast whilst managing the risk associated with them. So scale was another consideration. Then we came into this very common challenge around, so we've got each of these stakeholders, some of which, they don't live and breathe privacy day in, day out, like the privacy and the legal compliance teams. They speak marketing, they speak data, they speak marketing campaigns, they speak projects, and they're not fully averse with the privacy lingo. So it's how can we make assessments more accessible, simpler for them to understand, and sort of act as a translation layer between the compliance requirements and the actual questions being answered. So that was another key point that influenced our approach to assessments. And finally, this one came out really, really big in the DPIA process simply isn't connected to other aspects of the privacy program. So if you think about your data discovery and classification efforts, your data subject right efforts, your consent management, your systems catalogs, the fact that potentially some of these capabilities are in disparate tools and DPIAs are done in another tool. It just slowed the whole process down. So in building the Ketch platform around automation of privacy operations, we see a huge opportunity here to really refresh and modernize the way assessments are managed across each of these stakeholders. So that was kind of the research that drove our design thinking around the approach to assessments. And this visualization, I'm going to walk us through this as to how the relationship between the reassessment process of a processing activity links to other aspects of the privacy operation, and how we can speed that up, how we can introduce huge efficiencies in finding facts around the legal bases for which we're collecting data for a processing activity, the purpose it's related to, the systems, the categories of data processed by those systems, the business functions involved in it. So each of these aspects, of course, is critical to assessing a new processing activity. It might kick off third-party risk assessment, it might kick off legitimate interest assessment, transfer impact, etc. Now, this platform integration message is key, because if we now consider, well, legal basis and purpose, for example, if we have a privacy platform where we're conducting our consent management processes, well, we've already got a good handle on legal bases and the purpose for which we're collecting that data. We've got always on data discovery as part of a privacy platform. So we're finding data systems, we understand the residency of these systems, we're scanning for tags and cookies and identifying new systems in the enterprise, and we're automating DSARs across these systems for delete and access. So there's facts here, there's assets as part of these processes which play a really key part in assessing new activities. So if we can address that challenge of, I spend 80% of my time searching for facts, well, we've already cracked that in the fact that we're already automating these processes on a privacy platform. So each of these relationships between the aspects of a processing activity and the fact that a privacy platform is helping you to automate these functions means you can unlock an opportunity to accelerate the delivery of projects, reduce the manual time and effort, reduce the time it takes to you to go and search for facts, and improve collaboration across that privacy team. So this was the big motivating driver for our approach to assessments. So let's go take a look at what that approach looks like. So I'm going to walk us through sort of the business as usual day in the life of the privacy team, and then start to take us through that process of launching a new processing activity, collaborating around a DPIA process. So before we go into the actual assessment itself, here I am inside Ketch, and we're going to start with the data map. Okay, a living and breathing document of the jurisdictions where your business might be operating and the data transfers between jurisdictions and the purposes for which you're processing data in them. So, you know, you're running your consent management within the privacy platform, you're doing your DSARs, you're mapping your systems. So you've got like an always on living and breathing view of the privacy operation, down to the purpose level, the systems level upon which you're using your systems to process its data. Now that's all enabled. One of the key building blocks of improving assessments is this issue of, you know, searching for facts, finding facts related to new processing activity. So here I'm inside the Ketch systems registry. These are all the systems that are currently in use and installed within the organization that are processing data for various purposes. And we've got a really good handle of where this system resides, the security controls in place, the classifications of data that are being processed on this example system, which is a customer data platform from Segment. So we've got this overarching living and breathing view of our data map, but we want to launch a new processing activity. And we can see we've got the building blocks which can help us accelerate that. So let's now go and switch into the view of all the processing activities that we've got in place. We're going the next layer down, and all the actions that we need to take to move assessments along, help the IT and marketing teams launch new processing activities. And we see this overarching average risk associated with our data that we're continuously assessing. Now, when it comes to initiating a new processing activity, maybe this is the project management office, someone within the IT team that would come in and request a new activity. So this is that initial initiation of a new project. And because Ketch is connected to systems and we've got that systems registry already set up, it's a case of that project management office identifying the systems that they're going to use as part of the project, maybe adding a new system, which would obviously kick off a vendor risk assessment. And this is now enabling Ketch to assess that initial risk associated with that new project. You're going to use, the Snowflake database. We know for a fact there's sensitive data in there. It's associated with an advertising purpose. That's typically got a higher level of risk associated with it. You've selected some vendors where you haven't done a vendor assessment for maybe 12 months. So that's going to initiate a full impact assessment process. Start the actions of routing requests to various stakeholders. So let's go and take a look at one that's in progress. So here we've got all the details about this new processing activity, the systems associated with it, and all the privacy and security controls associated with those systems. Bear this in mind, we've got that systems registry. So we know where these systems reside. We know the security controls that are in place on them already. So we're already accelerating this assessment and reducing the needs to go find facts about these systems. It's already there and at the fingertips of this particular assessment. We know the kind of data that's being processed in those systems because we're scanning it through the privacy platform. So we've got a really good view of the risk already associated with this new activity. We're also able to collaborate with the tech teams and the marketing teams on what the flow of data is going to be for this new activity. And that's, again, enabled and accelerated because we've got these connections to systems, to data assets, to tables in databases that would be involved in this process. And we're able to collaborate to clarify the application and usage of certain data and whether that can be minimized or mitigated in some way, so that we're starting to really collaborate and accelerate the assessment. Now, when we go into the actual depths of the assessment itself, this is where we've taken an approach of enabling embedded collaboration around each of the questions that form part of the DPIA. So this is based on the ICO template, but you're able to define your own templates, your own questions, associate risk levels to certain answers to help in the scoring process of the new processing activity. But we're able to assign each question to various members of the team or to groups of stakeholders. We're able to collaborate around the particular answers to questions, and we're able to recommend particular remediations associated with the responses to some of these questions. And there's various formats of questions that we can use to dynamically change the assessment based on answers to various questions. So really minimizing the process of various stakeholders filling out these questions, really dynamically changing the assessment based on their responses. And here, for example, is evidence of us already pulling in answers to questions that we've asked before. We know this assessment's going to use a MongoDB database and HubSpot, and we already know the security controls that are in place on our instance of HubSpot. So really no need to ask the question again, just clarify that this is still the current situation, but it really helps accelerate and reduce that fact-finding pain that we identified earlier. So that's kind of a one in progress. One that has been recently approved. We'd see here remediations that have been put in place. So there's an alerts and notifications service built in to the Ketch privacy platform. So all those remediations associated with various answers to those questions can be kicked off as actions and tasks, and alerts can be routed around each of the members responsible for fixing those particular issues. So there we've seen the ability to really accelerate the process of launching an assessment, gathering the facts, bringing it into a highly collaborative experience for the stakeholders, mapping out the system's flow, assessing risks, and then launching this new processing activity, enhancing maybe the consent experience, updating the definition of one of your purposes because the purpose has changed, and then incorporating all that new detail around the processing activity into that purpose and that consent experience. And of course, including this activity in a DSAR access or a DSAR delete process. The actual effort involved in building a template and your own questions, again, is aided by the experience we see here, the ability to design your own short, long, multi-option questions, associating risk levels to various aspects of the question, and then incorporating that into templates that we provide, or building your own templates for the various kind of assessments. So there's any kind of assessment can be constructed using this really flexible framework that we've built out here. So that's the Ketch fresh approach to assessments. And I'm just going to wrap up with really the value of this approach we feel, and we'd love to delve deeper into this with you, which is we feel the value of this approach being integrated into the rest of the privacy platform means it's faster time to launching your data-driven projects, increasing awareness of risks, helping with that continuous education process with your stakeholders, identifying opportunities to minimize data collection to mitigate risk, and really helping with your compliance efforts and ultimately building trust with your consumers. So I hope you enjoyed that, quick intro into our approach to assessments. If you want to schedule a deeper discussion, please reach out to Kieran on his email address here. Thank you for joining.
Yep, if I can jump in real fast.
Yeah, go on.
We actually have a question about the demo you just did. Can Ketch support the CNIL DPIA template?
Yeah, and good question. So in that templates framework, we can help you configure that seat to the exact format that you want that in. very, very straightforward getting that format into. Currently, that's based on the ICO framework. But yeah, we can just create a new template for you.
Perfect. Thanks. All right. I think that was the last question. So I think we can go ahead and wrap up here. Thank you all so much for joining us. Seth, thank you for that great overview. As he said, if anyone wants to dive into this deeper, we would absolutely love to set a follow-up with you. As he mentioned too, we've gotten a lot of feedback from customers on the challenges and heartaches of the assessment process today. So we would love to hear what you're dealing with. We're really passionate about creating tech that makes your life as a privacy program owner easier. So we'd love to hear what you're experiencing and see if the tech can help you do that. So with that, we'll wrap. As a thank you, we also, of course, want to give each of you a little gift card for lunch on Ketch. So our colleague Kieran will be in touch with each of you directly after this session today. And please, if you found this helpful, join us next week on the 29th of March for same kind of overview, but delving into DSARs, data subject access requests. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and have a great one.
Thank you.